Hello and welcome to Func Prog Sweden number 4. As always, we are welcoming back our recurring viewers. Thank you very much for coming back and watching Func Prog Sweden. And also welcome to new participant and viewers of the Func Prog Sweden Meetup. This is the meetup where we explore functional programming. Both the languages such as Erlang, Haskell, Elm, Scala, Elixir as we will have today, and more. We have also explored functional programming in non-functional programming languages like Java, C++, and more. So please join us today. And again, warm welcome to everyone. First, I would like to hit it off with the agenda and so me, Magnus, will do the intro of today. Then also, first time ever, we'll bring in a functional programming user group, this time from Skåne, to say hello to everyone. Then we head over to the first presentation, which is Elm, Functional Language for Frontend by Tomas. And then we'll head over to Displaying Current Logged In Users Using Phoenix Presence by AbulAsar. But first, I would like to thank our video sponsor, AdaBeat. AdaBeat is an IT consultancy company focusing on functional programming. If you want to know more about AdaBeat, check them out on social media or on adabeat.com. Then the coming schedule is 20th of June. We'll be back with the final meetup before the summer vacations here in Sweden. And then we're back in August again with new meetups and new presentations. And during the autumn, we hope we also can get at least one more live meetup here in Stockholm, so be sure to check it out on our page. Also, if you want to support the meetup community, head over to the meetup community at Func Prog Sweden, or follow us on YouTube. And as we've said a couple of times, we have started up a Discord server if you want to discuss more, if you want to meet and talk to other functional programmers, check out the Discord server. And last but not least, if you want a t-shirt, check out the merch store. You can find the links both in the comments and on the meetup page. As always, if you have questions during the presentations, please in the chat write it or head over to the Discord server and write it there. With that said, we will welcome the functional programming user group from Skåne. Welcome. Hello.
Thank you.
Welcome to Func Prog Sweden. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you, Jan, for reaching out and saying that you're participating and joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was actually Axel here who noted that the group was on the same. We had meetups on the same day, so.
Oh, cool. Yes, then thank you very much, Axel. I didn't know this, but I only have contact with Jan. So thank you very much, Jan, and thank you very much, the Functional Programming User Group in Skåne. And if you have a user group somewhere else in the world, Sweden or the world, please ping me and we can bring you on to also say hello from wherever you are. With that said, let's get started with the first presentation. Functional Language for Frontend by Tomas Latal. Welcome, Tomas, to Func Prog Sweden. Do we hear you, Tomas? Yeah, you hear us at least.
Yes, I have a lot of displays and the Zoom
Ah.
was on the other one. Hi, everyone. The problems of Zooms today, right?
Yeah. You have to do some garbage collection on the screen, maybe.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would definitely love it.
Yeah.
So, hi everyone. I'm Tom or Tomas Latal, or Tom for short, and I was asked to present you something about the language that is the dearest to my heart, which is Elm. And as it's a functional language and this is a functional group, I believe this will be a lot of fun. And I'm going to start sharing the screen. all you will get through. So, 3, 2, 1, from the beginning. Let's start. So this is me. I'm currently working as a head of a service team at Scrive, Sweden, Stockholm. But as we are a remote company, I'm based in Prostějov in Czech Republic. From time to time, I travel to Stockholm to company gatherings. So if it will coincidence with some nice meetup, I will definitely love to be there. But it's really sparse. I'm in Elm development since 2017, which is, if my math is correct, for 6 years for now. Wow. And what a ride it was. From like the little bit of a personal part, I have too many hobbies and too little time. I love everything that has some electronics or chip in it, and anything that is doing some stuff. So everything is of interest, but yeah, we have only 24 hours and 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 head. So we need to prioritize on this. And that's why I'm mostly prioritizing Elm on top of each other. And so in today's talk, I would like to introduce Elm to you. I would try to talk a little bit about why I personally chose Elm and why I think it's a really good fit for anyone else who would like to pursue or start at least their functional programming careers, or they would like to have really robust front-end parts, but on that later. And the main highlight of this whole, I would say, stand-up show slash meetup would be a demoing of implementing a simple tic-tac-toe game online, hands-on. So prepare for a lot of bugs and misclicks and what the hell is happening kind of moments. So I hope you are seated, you have your favorite beverage. Let's start. Elm, in the nutshell, for those of you who haven't heard of Elm like at all, Elm is a language, it's a functional language which compiles to JavaScript. It's meant to be used for front-end and to write UIs and front-end applications, similar as like JavaScript or other things that kind of like all of them compiles to JavaScript, because JavaScript is the native part of each browser. This language was created in 2012 by Evan Shapliki, and the goal of it was to be a simple, robust, and fun language to use. For those parts, he chose a strongly typed language for the guarantees of you not messing things up, let's say, more than you normally are, more than you are normally doing. The language, all functions in this language are pure functions. All data structures are immutable, and there are no runtime exceptions, asterisk. You can obviously do runtime exception if you try to do one, but yeah, what the fun would be in there. So all of these things makes Elm a really robust language. In opposition to JavaScript, when everything is mutable, you can't talk about pure functions at all. You can't talk about types at all unless you are doing TypeScript, which might lie to you. But yeah, that's topic for totally another discussion. Maybe for the discussion after the talk, we'll see how much time would be left with. So on the perks of Elm, one of them is that it's pretty small regarding the real-world comparison of the front-end frameworks from 2020. I haven't found anything much more recent. It's a same application written in a lot of frameworks and languages. Elm is quite small. It compiles everything to quite small JavaScript bundle, because it can really nicely eliminate everything that is not used. It's a super nice feature, and a few tools are built on top of that. But also, it's not only the small, like the asset is not small. Elm is also pretty damn fast in the rendering and the application, which is what you kind of want on front end. You don't want a laggy, long processing UIs. You would really snappy parts. Choose Elm. So let's quickly dive a little bit into why I think, or what makes Elm a really nice, delightful language from my perspective. And as someone who has never before Elm, I has never been exposed to functional programming paradigms like at all. My background was PHP, JavaScript, TypeScript, C#, C++, all those like object-oriented languages. And on a code retreat, I kind of, at one code retreat, I thought to myself, I should learn myself a functional programming language just to step out of my comfort zone and to expand like my world views, let's say. And I'm so glad I stumbled upon Elm because from my perspective, it's the best functional programming language you can start with if you are pursuing functional programming knowledge and frameworks and stuff like that. Few things that really shine in this area are that it has a really clean and easy to understand syntax in opposition, for example, to Haskell or to other functional programming languages that kind of force you to first study a lot before you can actually do something interesting in it. And it's the syntax is similar to Haskell, but it removes like 90% of Haskell or 95% of Haskell constructs. So there are no type classes. You can't create your own operators because all of these things and like gazillion things, we don't have a do notation in Elm. I don't know. I'm not that strong in Haskell, so those are just the parts that are mentioned the most. And I'm glad because every time I see some Haskell code, it's totally unreadable to me because there are a lot of crazy constructs like this ampersand equals less than operator is doing something, but it's doing something in this context from this package, but some other author is using the same one in his own package, and you kind of don't know what the hell is going on. Elm tries to use as little operators as possible, and it replaces it with actual function names, which is super nice. It's searchable, it's askable, and it's doing only one thing, which is like what you exactly would like from a language that you are trying to learn. The problem with Haskell as well, in opposition to Elm, is that from my perspective, you need to study like the whole category theory, mathematics, whatever, and unless you are able to say what the monad is, which no one can, at least from what I learned, you can't do it like on the spot. There are a lot of like the end of functors and what the functor is. You kind of like need to know all these things before you start to understand the functional programming language. With Elm, you don't need to do that. And the best part is that you kind of like switch the whole learning process. You start writing the language and try to solve the puzzles of having the types match and like to do like what you would like it to do. And then by accident, you kind of learn that, oh, I have just used a monad. What is the monad? Let me try to find it out. So the whole learning process is switched, And the learning curve is not as steep as with other programming languages. I tried and failed to learn position to Elm. I'm too spoiled. With this, based on that it's we have a pure functions with a strong type system. We have immutable data structures. All of your applications are safe in let's say a safe as they won't crash. So you do a less debugging because of some stupid things overriding some stupid things. So you can focus more on what you would like to achieve. Not you are not fighting the language, you are not fighting the frameworks. You are just doing what you would like to do. Super nice and super friendly introduction from my part. But what the Elm is famous most for, and with what influenced quite a lot of new languages, including Rust and I believe F# as well, and all other like maybe niche languages, but a lot of them, is that it's the first language where I saw the really helpful error message or error messages. They not only show you like what is wrong, they show you where in the code it is wrong. And by where, I mean not on the line 1, column 52,063, but it actually shows you the part of the code, underline the part that is wrong. Say it shows you what is wrong, and it also like guides you to how to solve it, or what might be the solution for this. This is what you want when you are learning a language in a paradigm you have never been before. Other part of the fun is a really simple dynamics on how to make things move and how to make things interactive, which was boiled down into what we call DLM architecture, or T, but it's actually a model view update kind of routine. And I really like this picture because it sums up everything that Elm is doing. There is a model on the background which encapsulates all of your application state. There is an update who is the only function that moves the model in the way and changes the model in a way based on the messages from the outside world or from the public in here. And all you see is a view. So you can react on the view with the messages for the update function to update the model. And that's all. This whole loop goes on and on and on. We will see it in action shortly. But really, this picture is quite awesome. I'm sadly not sure who the author is. Which gets us to the other part, which is the no runtime exceptions guarantee. And I talked about it before really quickly. Again, robust systems, robust type system, pure functions, immutable data structures, all these things put together makes really hard to create a runtime exception, because first the program needs to compile. And when it compiles successfully, it works 99% of time. Okay, I would say maybe 70% of time, it works in the way you want it to work. But the problem is a business logic, not some crazy construct inside the language itself. So it's super nice. And like getting rid of null, undefined, all these like insert problems, you know, all of these problems that other languages have, and just stick with maybe monads and either's, so which is like the result of the successful and unsuccessful part, and with the language that forces you to cover all possible, say, paths with something, it's really hard to create a runtime exception in that. For example, you can't have if without else being defined. Because like, what if this function like returns false instead of true? You need to have this case covered, even though you know personally this would never happen because before it I said it always do true, blah blah blah. You know that right now, but you in a year or another developer might not know that. They might change the system, introducing this error, but you are covered even for these unpleasant parts. So no runtime exceptions. Awesome stuff. Which brings me to probably one of the most lovable parts about the Elm, which is the tooling and the ease of refactoring. All of these things together comes up into you being confident with your code. And by confident, I mean really confident that if you touch anything, once, let's say you are going to remove some part, you're going to remove some function. If you remove it and it still compiles, it works. And this function was redundant. If you remove it and the compiler fails, it will show you which parts of code you need to adjust to this removal. Magic. Awesome. Confidence with refactoring. You can bring on board developers much more quickly because they are not afraid to touch the code base. Like even the code base, which is like 1,000 lines huge, is easy to refactor. Best part of Elm from my perspective. And for packages, we have the enforced semantic versions, which is like a really painful experience if you use NPM or stuff like that, where the authors are not too forced to do that. With Elm, if you would like to publish a package which changes the public API, and it changes it that it removes a function that has been used, it forces you to automatically bump the major version of the package. Otherwise, it won't be published. Sorry. Super nice stuff. Elm Review helps you with the refactoring. It can navigate and remove all the dead code that you are not actually calling anywhere. So less code, less things to be less things to take care of. It's also serving as a linter, with you being able to write the custom rules for your use case. So, for example, we in Scrive, we were using it for, say, forcing others not to use, let's say, concat, not to use a map and list map, and after that some concatenation of the list, but you use concat map instead. And you can stuff like these, like, yes, you can do this thing better. You can automate it to Elm Review, run it with each CI change, or with each change on CI. You have your guard of your company policies and all your styles embedded in the CI, automated. Super nice stuff as well. And then there is Elm UI, which we will probably be looking into, but shortly. Imagine, and if you are a backend programmer, imagine that you can create front-end application which looks nice, easy to maintain, without any line of CSS. How does that sound? For a lot of people, it's like the Elm UI is the killer feature, because it's a new API on how you can create visual programs and style them easily. A lot of people are really stoked about Elm UI. So, which brings me to probably a last phrasing of last appraisal slide for Elm before the demo, which is the developer experience, as you probably understood so far. Developer experience is awesome. Help to compile messages. What's there not to love? Elm is being probably too expressive, but me personally, I like it because there is no hidden magic. You can always navigate to the exact function that is doing the stuff that you are interested in. You can, it's not hidden somewhere in the framework or whatever. It's there in your code, and you can get to it. You can find it. You can follow the call graph. It's not like just call this and it would change automatically something crazy on the other part of the application. Love it. We have repo. All code is easy to reason about because that's why we love functional programming, right? And the community on Slack is super helpful and super welcoming. So what's there not to love? All right, so 20 minutes in, time for a demo. So maybe are there any questions before we get to demo? I'm not sure. And also, I don't have I don't know how to check that.
Hi Thomas, there's no questions so far in the chat. People have said that they love Elm.
All right, that's no question. That's a statement. So
Yes.
cool. Let's continue. So I believe just I can see you guys in that meeting room. Is the code readable, or should I make it bigger? Just like
Bigger.
raise your hand if everything is okay. Okay, cool. Seems like it. Hopefully it will be readable as well. So what I have here, bigger please. Cool. So we have a bigger, and we'll have a little bit of less of space, but we will manage probably. So what I'll be using is the online sandbox called Ellie. It's ellie-app.com, and it allows you to write Elm interactively, see the output, see the debugger, and also install and use the other packages as well. So yeah, this is how the Elm language and the Elm code looks like. As with other front-end languages, you have your imports. You have here is a type alias, which is just like definition of a type. We're aliasing one type of things to the shorter name or to the other part. And this is how a function looks like. It has the type annotation, and it has a body, which is what the function is returning. There is another type, and we have actually 3 functions only in here right now. We have our init function, which is the initial of the whole model. Remember the dragon and the knight on the puppet theater. So this is the model actually lives in here. It has only one record with one item, which is an event, and this is a string. This is type definition only. We need to initialize the model once it's first ran. So we initialize this model with a string. Update is not doing anything interesting right now, but we can see that the update takes messages and the current model, and it emits a new model based on the message and the current model. And then there is a third part, which is the view function.
Sorry, the Zoom meeting just died. We'll connect Thomas right back. So you have to live with me for a while. And again, if you have any questions, please shoot them in the chat or on the Discord server. We will connect the Zoom meeting right back and get Thomas right back up as soon as possible, we hope. Let's see if we get it working. Let's see. Yes. We'll take a short. Yeah, we'll take a short break for a couple of minutes and we'll be right back. I'll shout in the chat once we're back. Sorry, guys.
Sure, no problem. Should I restart the sharing? No. Okay, the screen is. Oh, sure. Okay. Okay. So let's use the command and okay, now let's undo a lot of things. Ta-da. Okay, here we are at the beginning. Luckily, it was just the 5 minutes, not like 30 minutes. So sorry if I will be repeating things that you have already heard. Okay, let's go. So as I was saying, and I hope this is the correct continuation. The type. I would like to first create a type for representing the inner state of the whole application. So I chose to represent it as a dictionary of where the key is the coordinates, rows and columns indexes, and the value is a mark. And the mark itself is just my custom type called mark, which will be only X or O, or either X or O. And with that, we just change the inner model. So it's a type of a board. And when I do it and I try to compile something, I see the famous, say, the famous compiler error, which looks really nice from what I'm used to, which is more or less just a print of the stack calls with a crazy line numbers and blah, blah, blah. I can see what the problem is. I can see where the problem is. I can see what might be like a solution, because supposes that I mistyped the dict because I don't have the dict defined anywhere. So for that, I need to import it because it's not imported by default. So import dict. And also because I'm using the type, not the package itself yet. So we need to expose the type as well. Otherwise, we would need to have things prefixed by the module name and the type name, but this is like a little bit better. So, okay, I'm going to compile it again, and something is off again. On line 18, and on line 18, I can see that my initial model in here is still like is still old. It says even, and there is a string, but suddenly I have a board, and the board is a dict. So let's fix this as well. Board, and we start with the empty dictionary, which is something like this. Cool. Moving on. Line 36, and in my view, I also have a reference to the event part, but suddenly there is just a board. So for now, let's say just remove it is more than okay. And hooray, it compiles. We have our initial part. The view is just like doing something completely gibberish and what we don't want it to do, but it works at least. So let's dive in and get rid of all the view for now, and say create our heading. Let's say all right, nice. So with the initial model being taken care of, suddenly a little bit more understanding on what we are trying to do. Let's dive into and create our view from for the tic-tac-toe game. And I promised you to use the Elm UI package. So let's find it out. Install it with the LE, and let's import it. Import, and for it, I would really recommend to go to the documentation for the package itself, and it's the Elm UI from Matthew Griffith. And here you can see how the things might work with a little bit of examples. You can navigate to the modules themselves, see the function, see the type annotation, all the nice stuff. So the main part of the Elm UI is an element, which you can think of as a tag of HTML. So let's import element. We'll be using it as a lot. So let's alias it as E, and that might be enough. So if we do the E layout with attributes and well, I believe actually the layout just needs only one thing, and we can say it's a text of tic-tac-toe. Boom. Nice. The font changed a little bit because the defaults for the elements are a little bit different, but yeah, something is happening. Nice. So we have this, but I'm not sure who is working with who was working with CSS, but one of the most problematic parts of CSS was centering. And imagine the horrors if you were asked to center things not only horizontally but also vertically to the screen. So this is where the Elm UI shines, because all you need to do is to write center X and center Y, and all the elements. Okay, not on the layout, but this is what I always get wrong. You need to style the element itself within the part. So in center X, and I'm going to try this out. Yes. So now center Y would work as well. Awesome. No CSS included. You don't need to deal with it. You don't need to deal with the style sheet files and outdated styles. Ooh, I sense the suspense. So we can have something like this to display the toe, blah, blah, blah. And the second part of the Elm UI is the idea that you can put a lot of things either on a row or in the column, and then work from the top of that. So if we imagine our simple UI in here, first we would like to create a column. On top there would be a title. Below it there will be the 3x3 matrix. So instead of this, we can do something like E column, and the part of the column would be something like this. We can't format it yet because I messed up the parentheses, obviously. Okay, nice. So we have a column and we have tic-tac-toe, and we'll just format this to look a little bit more nicer. So we lost our centering because we are centering this element inside the column, and the column is like the whole width and height right now. So let's put things to the center of the screen again. We kind of don't need to have this one here, but that's not a problem right now. So we have a column. These are the attributes, and here are the elements. So if we would like to have, I don't know, nope. Func Prog Sweden. If we would like to add something else, like below it, it's a column. It would stack things on top of each other. So it's like not super awesome. So let's create our board. And for this, we will, well, first thing you learn when you're trying to do a functional programming language is that you can always, you should create a lot of smaller function and then reuse them and combine them together. So let's do that. Let's create a function for a view of the grid itself. So let's call it a view grid for now. Obviously, if we compile it, it will fail. It will say, I cannot find this one. These names seems close. Yeah, they did, but it means that we don't have the view grid defined. So view grid, and it will be element MSG. Don't bother with the MSG part. I will get to it a little bit later, hopefully. So, and just for now, let's do something like this to satisfy the compiler. And yes, we don't have the element exposed, so let's do it quickly like this. Yeah, nice. With this, we can also create would it be a column? Yeah, let's do a column of text, and with this we are having our really simple stringy-ish representation of a free line of a board. It sucks, but it looks like a game a little bit, and it's just a placeholder for now. Okay, let's reformat things again a little bit. All right, so we have a column in here, we have a text, but the text is like, wow, not that nice, not that fun. So we are going to replace this with a row of the actual cells themselves. So we would like to do something, say, cell X, cell Y. Oh, not Y. Oh man, X and Y. Cell O, and say cell without like anything. Well, actually, we'll do it a little bit different so we can see the empty space as well. So we would like to have something like this instead. Obviously, we don't have a cell call in here, so we can define our like internally scoped cell function. It will take, let's call it a content for now. And this would, let's say, again, let's play with the only text for now, and we'll text content. And yeah, we'll see it's like, it's non-existent, this like middle one, because the text, empty text is not rendered at all. But yeah, it's something. We can play with the element and style it a little bit more. This pipe in here is like the application. I'm not that coined with the terms. It's not a function application, which would be something like this. It's just a fancy way of, at least I try to think of it as a fancy way of how to get rid of the parentheses. You can do either this, or you can do this left pizza operator and get rid of the parentheses. So let's style this a little bit, and it will be, let's put it some width, which will be of unit pixels, and say 50 pixels wide, and height would be also let's say 50 pixels. All right, so let's try to wrap things so that you can see them actually. Yeah, okay, now it starts to look a little bit better. And within these, let's say, fields, we would have the parts, let's say, no, okay. let's do something a little bit more different. Let's put a border in here, and border is in another package called element border, and alias it as border right now. So with this, we can do border with, and it's in pixels by default. So for this one, would create a border in here. So we have these elements, we have these rows. We would like to have a little bit spacing in between those cells. So what is the better than call spacing, actually? And it will be, okay, I believe it needs just the pixels as well. Yes, okay. And now all the elements have a space in between them based on the pixel value of this. So, yeah, okay. Let's get rid of this text in here and create these 3 rows instead. And also, we would probably like to have the same spacing in the column as well. So, yeah, it starts to look a little bit reasonable. And I'm not sure how much time do we have left.
Oh, you can go on, Tomas, for like 15 minutes more, so no worries.
Okay, it's still too little for to showcase everything, but
How much time do you need, Tomas?
no. I would probably need like another 2 or 3 hours, but
Okay.
For the sake of the other times and for the other talks, let's keep it short, and
Yep.
I will then show you or reuse the stuff I have prepared before. So no worry, 15 minutes is okay. Cool. So what else we would like to have? I don't know. Let's center the content as well. So let's have this one styled. Because I don't like how it looks like right now. So I like things centered. And for X. Yes, okay, this looks better. And the Y, it looks even better. Cool. So we have a hard-coded values, which kind of sucks. So let's try to actually propagate the board and show the board here as well. And for this, let's fill the board with some value. So let's say that on the first or the second row, because we're indexing from zeros, on the second row and the second column, so in the center, there would be X, for example. And we need to call the function insert for this. So we are inserting this key, this with this value, and we are actually, if you take a look at the left, the right pizza operator, which is this one, it's a little bit nicer way to applicatively build up your structure, for example, or to pass the, what it's doing is that it takes this value in here and it passes it as the last parameter to a function below. So I can write it like this as well. Okay. Empty. Yeah, I can do things like this as well. But when we are doing a little bit more complex operations, like the multiple inserts, it will just like grow insanely. So what I really like to do is to do something like this. First define something and then do a stream of operations like insert 1 X, and on the result of this dictionary, we insert something else. So let's say to the 1, 0, and 2, we add an O in here. So it will look X, it should look X in the center or in the top right corner. So right now we have everything hard-coded. We would need to propagate the board in here. So the view grid needs to accept the board as a parameter. And if we compile this, the compiler would say to us, okay, it will say that something is wrong. Oh yeah, I ran into an unexpectedly curly brace. Yes, you did, because I copied things poorly, but thank you for having my back. And now the view grid itself value is a board 2 element, but all the previous elements in this list are just elements. Everything in the list must be the same value. Take a look at it. So the problem here is that I extended the view grid with another parameter, but I haven't passed it here. So I created a function that, well, with this is like the current function, which needs a board to be passed to it to provide the element, the resulted element. So let's put a board in here as well. It still looks the same, but it compiles. So that's a nice touch. And it still looks the same because we are having these values hard-coded. So let's do this. Let's put the parameter of a cell as its coordinates, and it will be a row and column tuple. And for this text, instead of a content, we are going to have to get the content from the from the dictionary itself. And maybe it will be, we will need to cover the cases where the where we hit something, where we hit the coordinates that are not in the dictionary yet. So let's do cell content on coordinates. Let's create a helper function which will do a dict get coordinates from board. And if we take a look into the documentation, the dict get needs a key, which is this comparable, and a dictionary you would like to ask something from, and you will get a maybe value. And maybe is a custom type, or is a type that has two positions. Either it's a just and a value, or it's nothing. So this is the way how Elm deals with the undefined or unknown parts. And yeah, we can ask for something that is not in the dictionary yet. So we need to somehow work with this uncertainty. And that's word. It's hard. So this suddenly returns a maybe of type. But we need, and it's also returns the type of mark, and we need to transfer the mark to an actual string in here. We can do this in a function. Let's call it mark to string. Okay, let's do it a little bit later. So what we need, or what we can use, is the maybe itself has a map function, which takes as a parameter a function that takes a value. If it's just, then do the operation on the just value on the value and return new maybe, wrap it again back there. And if it's nothing, just like do nothing and skip this operation, or this changing of the on the type itself. So easy, yeah, sorry, easy stuff. So let's say maybe map, and we create a lambda function. In here we would have our mark, and we would like to do a pattern matching on it. So based on mark, if the mark is X, then return a string X. If the mark is O, then return the string O. And that's it. And we still need to take into consideration where this will be a nothing case. And for this, we have a maybe dot with default, and which says, like, if the opposite of a map, kind of, if it's a nothing, then return this value. So now we are returning strings out of here completely, and we can the cell content on the coordinates, so we can use it for getting value from here. So to the text, we will get a cell content for, yeah, and we can pass we don't need to destruct this in here right now. So let's pass it as a coordinates. Come on. And for this, right now, we will get a lot of errors because because the cell doesn't have it. Silly me. Thank you, compiler. Okay, and here the cells have like a completely different parameter, and it's actually, we need to do something like this instead. 0, 1, and 0, 2. We'll get rid of these. Copy paste is really a strong skill to have these days. And just switch the column. 2. Oh. 1, 1, 1. Oh, damn. 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. Cool. Ta-da! We have suddenly we have a function that is showing the grid of the actual board, which is nice. So if we add something, I don't know, something in here, it should be there. Cool. If I'm not mistaken, we have like 5 minutes. Okay.
Yes. You have 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes, 5 minutes. All right. So for the sake of time, let's put a little cheat sheet, which is the implementation. You can see this is like a little bit, well, it's kind of the same. We have a board in the model. We have a current player. We have a winner, which is a maybe mark. If it's nothing, no one is winning. If it's something, we have someone who is winning, actually. We have a board, we have a mark, initial parts. We have suddenly now we have a message called place mark, which is called on where are you? On cell row mark. Okay, on cell itself. On click, we call this message with the coordinates and the current player. And what it is doing is if it's something already there on the coordinations or the coordinations that just do nothing, and if it's not there, place the mark of the current player, switch the player to the next one, and also check whether someone is winning or not. And again, if you recall the nice dragon-ish puppet theater, the update is the only place responsible for changing the models. It's changing the models based on the messages from the outside world. And those messages are being emitted either from the view, which is this. This is the type of the messages it can emit, or it can be emitted from the runtime, through ports, from like something that we requested, like HTTP request or some side effect like create a random number, stuff like that. So when we click in here, everything like works, and we are switching things. But this reset button is not working. So let's make it work, and that will be probably all we can do right now. So we have, this is the cell row, and this is the whole view. And with the whole view, we have this button, and on press of the button, there is a nothing because nothing is happening. So let's create a reset message or reset function. And with this, if we just do it like that, it would tell us that there is no reset like message at all. And if we add a reset message, it will complain that the case does not have branches for all possibilities. This is what I was referring to as you need to have all the parts covered, all the parts of the branching covered always. And compiler will tell you if you are not having it, which is super nice when you are doing refactoring, because you kind of can create a program or the application that will tell you when you change something at which places you need to address the change as well. And then it compiles and everything works, and rainbows and unicorns and stuff like that. So your life is nice and easy. So just create a reset button or reset part, and this one would actually return the initial model instead. So it will reset the model back to the initial value. And I believe, because this is like super, the cases are super tab sensitive. So let's do XOXO reset. Ta-da! And this is how you put the interactivity in there. There's like a gazillion of other things I would be able to talk about, but regarding the time, let's wrap things up a little bit. So let's get back to the presentation itself. So for you, if you would like to get started with Elm, there is no better place than the official documentation. I definitely recommend you to sign up to Slack, and specifically to the either beginners or general or help channels in there. Given the communities spread across the world, you always have someone who is going to answer your questions in those channels mostly. I definitely recommend the Elm programming, which is really nice, a really nice course of on everything Elm. With like it goes much deeper than the official documentation. And also what we were using is this LE app, which is at the leapp.com. And with that, I would say thank you for bearing with me through the technical difficulties as well. And if you would have any questions, fire them in the chat right now, or like in the on the proper channels. If you would have them later, or you would like to ask me or something, or whether I would be able to help you with something, feel free to contact me. Probably the easiest way is on the Bird side on the Twitter. It's at Tomas Latal. It's like my name completely. And with that, thank you for attending, and I hope you are having a really nice time. And I'm looking forward to the next talk.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much. Very appreciated presentation. People have been very happy in the chat. Someone even shouted out, "No CSS, I'm on it." So
nice. And that's how you are doing your the conversion to Elm.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
So you talked a bit briefly. I have some questions. I haven't seen any questions in the chat, so I'll start up with asking some questions. You talked a bit briefly that you've worked with other languages, then you come into Elm. Have you seen other functional programming languages? You mentioned Haskell. Have you looked into other languages?
Oh boy, I did. It's a loophole right now. Once you touch a functional language, you don't want to go back at all. So I was looking at Elixir and like the whole part like with the Erlang as well.
Yeah.
I was looking at the F# because it looks really promising to me. At Scrive, like the whole backend solution is written in Haskell, so I'm like exposed to Haskell on a daily basis as well. Although I'm not able to read it much with those crazy constructs yet, at least. So yeah, those are really really nice, and I'm looking forward to like go deeper with this rabbit hole.
How many Elm developers are you currently in Scrive, and have you taught them Elm, or did people come in with the Elm competence?
Yeah,
or is it a mix of?
Yeah, it's a mix. I think like it's hard to tell how many Elm developers because all Haskell developers are writing Elm as well. So that's really hard. But like the really dedicated Elm developers, there are like 3 or 4 of us right now.
Yeah.
As with the functional languages, it's really interesting how little people you need to achieve the same far as with the object-oriented languages. So we were able to do really, really nice things, and even with the small a few Elm developers in here. And I definitely haven't learned or haven't taught Elm to them. Well, actually, oh yeah, recently we did. We converted one React developer to Elm, and right now he don't want to do anything else at all. So I call it a success.
Yeah,
for sure. So now there are like 4 of us.
I have a question now from the chat. It's like the talk of the town is that Elm as a language is sort of dead. It's not like much activity development. Do you have any comment on that? I seen this.
I was waiting for this. I was waiting for this.
Okay.
Yes. If you go to the website, I believe it's called Is Elm Dead or something like that. .com probably. You will see that no, Elm is not dead, although it's the pace of the whole development is much slower than people are used to. So instead, I wouldn't say dead, I would say stable. Right now, the Elm as a language, we need to differentiate Elm as a language and Elm as a framework itself. So Elm as a language is really stagnating right now. Because of the governance of the whole leaders of Elm, let's say, because they chose to and they were explicit about it. But on the other hand, the community and the projects the community is doing around that is like awesome. Elm Review, great part. Elm Pages, which is like the server-side rendering part for Elm, is there as well. A lot of codegen parts, connections to GraphQLs and to other parts. I mean, there's a lot of things are going on around that, not inside the language itself, but around it, provided by the community. So even though it's perceived as that, and it's, I would say, it's really not famous, but yeah, probably it's really nice, famous meme on the Hacker News. Anytime that something around Elm comes up, it's like, yeah, Elm, that language, blah blah blah. But there are companies that are using it on production, obviously, around the world as well, and yeah, so life and kicking, I would say.
Yes, we hear you. Also, do you have the code you showed us? Is it public anywhere? If so, we will. If the code is public anywhere, I'll post it in the links below in the comments of the YouTube film later. So
yeah, sure. I can make it public. Feel free to
nice.
play with. The alley is really nice. It can create like a links to a certain part of code or certain version of the code. So I will tidy it up a little bit, and then I will provide you with the link.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Again, thank you very much for your presentation and your live coding, and also
thank you for having me.
Yes, and also living through the technical difficulties. Thank you very much, Thomas, again. We are very grateful that you came along. Then, with that said, we are going into the next presentation. AbulAsar, welcome to Func Prog Sweden.
Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
Is my screen? Yeah.
We see you and we hear you loud and well.
Yeah.
And now we see your screen.
Yeah. First of all, First of all, Thomas, the talk was really good. Honestly, I have tried Elm earlier, but again, the fear of that Elm is dead. I didn't wanted to invest much time on it. But honestly, from functional programming point of view, it's really a great language. I can vouch for that. Like I had tried Haskell earlier and Elm earlier. Believe me, even after working for around my start of my career for a very longer period of time, I wasn't aware about concept of currying, but it was Elm that made me understand that what currying and lots of functional programming concept as well as the mathematics behind it. It started to make sense when I started learning Elm. It's just a sad thing that I didn't invest much time on it, but yeah, surely I'll look into it in future. So yeah, starting with the topic of this session is displaying current logged in user using Phoenix presence. Honestly, when I proposed this topic for the meetup, and I saw that advertisement on Twitter and LinkedIn, I was after seeing the name, I realized that the name is a little bit vague. And when I started to make presentation, the slides, I started to realize that like there are lots of things, lots of concept behind the scene that needs to be covered. So this session will be mixture of a demo, little bit of demo, lots of slides, which I'm really bad at, and it will be evident in next few slides, and a few of code's explanation along the way. So let's get started. So a bit about myself. I'm AbulAsar Sayyad. I'm a software engineer from Mumbai, India. I have near about 7 years of experience. I have worked on multiple technologies like Elixir, JavaScript, Ruby, and I'm in love with Elixir because of its easy syntax and its great community. And currently I'm working for a US-based software company called as ID Plans, which is a real estate company. We solve problems related to, we build software related to real estates. And we have mostly, we have JavaScript tech stack along with lots of AWS stuff. You can follow me on Twitter as @AbulAsar, Abul_Asar, and on LinkedIn as AbulAsar. And I have a website, abulasar.com, where I share a lot. Even I tweet about that on Twitter. Whatever I do with the live view and Elixir, I like to share my my stuff, my knowledge, whatever small thing or anything I try in my free times and all. All right. So this is the agenda for today. Like I said, this session will be mixture of the concept building, the demo, and so initially at start itself, I'm going to show you guys demo of the application that this session is about. Then a bit about live view to get a little bit intro about live view for those users who are not aware about it, then channels, topics, then Phoenix PubSub, then adding authentication, a bit of authentication. I'm going to explain why it is needed in this project, and then the meat of the project, Phoenix presence, and finally code explanation. So get started. So first of all, I'm going to give you a small demo. I think seeing this demo, it's going to make sense like what this topic is about. So here I'm having two parallel browser. One is in non-incognito mode and one is in incognito mode. So first of all, I'm going to log in and it's just a very basic, simple live view application. And over here you can see I'm logged in, and these are the list of users of this application. So I'm AbulAsar, so I'm logged in, and you can see green signal over here. Similarly, there is one more user, Edward, who is not logged in right now. So you can see red signal, red notification over here. So I'm going to log in as Edward now on parallel screen. So keep an eye on the left screen also. So as soon as I'm logged in, you can see the green signal over here. So this effect of updating the screen without explicitly refreshing the screen is what this session is all about. And what I like about live view is it's its feature of real time, building real time application with ease. And like, believe me, when you are trying to build such feature with any other languages like JavaScript or something, you have to go through different types of stuff. But in live view, you just have to learn Elixir and you can achieve it with the ease. Similarly, when I'm logging out, you can see I'm logged out and the red signal over here. So I hope you got the idea what this talk is about. So here you can see while explaining, you have seen some points which I want to highlight is authentication, the real-time effect, the list over what we are seeing here right now, this indicator of the event firing of users, login event, logged out event, all those things are something which will help you in understand the future slides. Okay, so let's get started. The very first topic, live view. I think meetup before there was a talk given by one of the attendee was about live view, and you can go through that as well. But I thought it should be better to give some glimpse about what live is all about, why it came into picture. So in traditional, first of all, Phoenix live view is a library that works with Phoenix to provide real-time functionality with server rendered HTML. So you have seen that proof of real-time thing, how it was achieved. So earlier, when live view was not developed, in a traditional Phoenix application and in dead view application, whenever users try to access and do some event in the page in the browser, for example, user submitting the form, and user just wants to do very small change, like for example, hide some div on the basis of this submit button. It's just a small change of simple Boolean logic. But how that used to happen is that user used to submit the form that used to trigger HTTP action, HTTP event, which would go to controller, and controller, as per the HTTP verb, in this case you can say update, and some computation used to happen in the controller, and that used to pass the data to the views, and views in return used to return entire HTML page. Though this change was a small change, just Boolean logic from change to false, say for example, and but control is returning a huge HTML page. So, and that is refreshing the entire page for that. So this was not a very good user experience. Along with that, that also hampers the performance of the application if the page is very happy with lots of CSS and other stuff. So what was the solution that developed at that time? A few years back, we used to came using JavaScript libraries like React, Vue, etc. By embedding that in the application. For Vue, if anyone who are aware about Vue.js, it's very easy to integrate. You just have to tag the div as a part of your application as a Vue application by adding some tag. I don't remember the syntax right now, but the same thing, user used to submit application and there was a AJAX request, and again controller used to take that AJAX request, and after computation the Vue used to return JSON response and update the page, the section of the page accordingly. But again, like the things was achieved, like what was the target, to instead of rendering the whole page, just update the part of the application was achieved. But again, it comes with a cost. Like someone who's a backend engineer who is only working on Elixir or in Elixir has to now learn has to learn JavaScript and frameworks like React and Vue. React, which has a huge learning curve, at least for me, and backend developer has to learn all those things, and backend engineer already is dealing with the pain of CSS, now has to learn JavaScript and other JavaScript frameworks. So this was the issue, like which mainly Elixir developer or Phoenix developer were facing at that time. Then Elixir, then Phoenix team, along with Chris McCord, they came up with this library called as LiveView, and its concept is really simple. And for every page in the application, you can have a live view process, and the concept is very simple, that live view connection happens over a WebSocket, and live view has a cycle that live view process receives some events, and those events are handled in the live view process, and after doing some computation, when we assign that value to the WebSocket, only that particular page of the application is re-rendered. So instead of going through pain of writing JavaScript or rendering the whole page, LiveView is solving this thing with the ease. And the best of all, everything is happening over a WebSocket. So think like real-time building real-time application is achieved with very ease. So yeah, the next thing is Phoenix channels. So like we have gone through live view, what is live view is all about. Now the Phoenix channels. The Phoenix channels is something using which we can build bidirectional communication between message senders and receiver using channels. They are ideal for real-time applications. So obviously you can see, and if you remember the demo of my application, there was the information flow that was happening between the two browsers. So what was the thing that helped in achieving that is Phoenix channels. In the simplest analogy, what I can give about Phoenix channels is it's a kind of pipe through which information flows in real time. So it's again the main hero behind Phoenix channels is that is socket connection. Again, like there is a it works in two steps. That a socket connection happens between the client and the server, and there is broadcasting of message between the senders and the receivers. So there is some more thing to it in the next few slides, which we'll be looking into. It's topics. Like I said in previous slide, and to give a simple analogy, I said channels is something which it's a kind of pipe which take information through which information is flowed. So there should be something which should take care of like where this information should flow. So topics is something, it's a kind of thing which helps you to route message. So for example, there is an information flow like messages, for example. or chat messages. We don't want that this particular chat, when any user submits any message in group A, we don't want that it should that message should get leaked into message in chat group B. So there is a identifier which helps you to achieve that thing, which restricts that this particular message shouldn't be leaked into any other group. So topic is such thing which helps you to achieve thing. So it's the same client can, and also like same client can publish to multiple topics. So say for example, in a simple analogy, same user can belong to multiple groups. Say for say I'm a user, I can be in group 1 and as well as in group 2. So I can be subscribed to multiple group as well. So topic is something which instead of mixing all those message will be help, which it will help in segregating the message and routing it to its perfect destination. So the next topic is Phoenix PubSub. It's the most important concept in Phoenix, and the real-time thing what we saw earlier. Phoenix PubSub is an API that is responsible for doing this live updates in the app. So it has two parts. That is, it involves two entities. One is publisher and the other is subscriber. So in this diagram, if you will see, it kind of makes sense. See, for example, these are the subscriber which are subscribed to this topic. So when the publisher publishes the message to a particular topic, only those subscriber which are subscribed to this particular topic are going to receive message. So the very first thing, what are publisher? So it's kind of very clearly evident that publisher is the producer in the PubSub chain. It creates messages. So for example, this topic has got a message from any of the publisher. It's going to publish to only those subscribers which are subscribed to this particular topic. So it is a kind of sender. So when any event is occurred in the publisher process, it will notify to all the subscriber process throughout the channel. So in live view point of view, when I say publisher and subscriber, in this everything are processes. So here we have, if I'm talking about a page, say slash home page, if I'm talking about, and there is a page for that live view page for that, then that's a live view, then there's a separate live view process for that. And if it is waiting for some data from any source, so that is what like processes, like in live view everything is a process. So publisher in the simple terms is something that is that produces message, and same goes to subscribers. In live view application, processes are subscribed to a topic. So when a message is pushed by a publisher, is broadcasted by publishers, it is the subscriber who are going to receive that message. So it's quite simple and quite evident in this first diagram itself. All right. Now, authenticating our app. So if you're the question arises like why I'm trying to explain about authentication in our application. So if you will see, it will the reason behind explaining authentication is that in our demo application, what we have seen over here, we are able to identify user like, hey, Edward is online or AbulAsar is online. This is done on the basis of some identity. So this would not have been possible if we would have not authenticated. And it was also act as an identifier to show this red and green signal. So in our case, to achieve this feature of showing logged in user and logged out authentication was a topic I thought I should be clearing out. So in live view, authentication is in Phoenix exactly. Authentication is something very it can be achieved very easily, like in other frameworks or in other technologies, when a user had to, or a developer had to write their own implementation of authentication with Phoenix, and even with Rails, because Phoenix is kind of inspired by Rails, where you have very easy library to where you have library using that you can very easily implement authentication. So it has in LiveView we have, in Phoenix we have a library called as Phoenix Gen Auth. Using that we can very easily install authentication in this application. All right, and like I said earlier, Phoenix presence is going to use user ID to track users presence. So in our case, like how we are able to identify that Edward is online is on the basis of the user ID. We will have some logic which will be seeing in while the code explanation. Using that, we are able to make this signal green. So Phoenix presence is going to use user ID in our case. Okay, so like I said, Phoenix Gen Auth is something that comes with the Phoenix library. You have to explicitly install that to use it. So once your application, you have started building an application, you want to implement Phoenix Gen Auth, this is the simplest way you can add authentication in your application. Run in your command terminal, you can run Phoenix Gen Auth. Accounts is your contacts, user is the table which you want to add, and user is the table, and user is the module in Phoenix. So it's going to have all those function, all those logic which are needed to implement authentication. Believe me, you don't have to write even a single line of code after that for the basic authentication. Even when I created this demo application, I didn't write even a single line of code to achieve this authentication. So it's really cool about the Phoenix LiveView, where you can skip you can avoid taking tension about authentication stuff. Now, like I said, once users log in the application, you can see user is in at the root of the application, localhost 4000. User is at the root of the application. So we want, if for example, if I am trying to access this in logged out state, it is asking me should log in. So what I'm trying to do, I have authenticated, so that once if user is not authenticated in this case, then we don't have any identity to show users presence. So that's why I thought of authenticating this particular URL. So for that, what we can do, what I have did in this case, I have added this page slash root empty slash, and the home live page. I have created a home live live view file for this page, for displaying this page. The live view file is home live, and what I did, in router.ex file, I have we can see, you will see when you will create your or implement this thing on your own. There is a scope where where you can see this block of code: live session require authenticated user, which ensures that the user is authenticated, else you cannot access this page. So for example, if you will try to access user settings, you will not be allowed to access that. Why? Because it is, this block of code is ensuring that user should be authenticated to access this page. So this block of code is something that came inbuilt when I ran this command mix Phoenix.gen authors. So what I decided, I added home live, this root page, into this block itself to make sure that, hey, this page should be authenticated. So this was the point of adding authentication, to make sure that that page is secure, and most importantly, we can get identity of the user to show the logged in and logged out state. So far so good. Now the main part of the application is Phoenix presence. So it is a behavior that provides presence features such as fetching presence of a given topic. If you will start to notice this definition, we can see there are lots of things which we have came across, like topic, and in this second point, it uses Phoenix pub sub behind the scene. So we have seen Phoenix pub sub as well. We can see broadcast, because it broadcasts to the message to update in real time. And it is the library. Phoenix presents the module that don't come inbuilt in the application. You have to explicitly install using the command mix Phoenix.gen presence. I'll show you in the subsequent slides. So Phoenix presence is the main thing which is keeping track. If you will see in the definition, first definition itself, again, you can see it has diffs. Diffs means differences over here, differences of join and leave event as they occur in real time. So whenever user is joining, logging in the first time, or when the user is joining the application, there is an event of join. And similarly, when I try to users try to log out, there's an event of leave. So all those things is happening, and presence is something which keep tab on these things. So it is the main, this is the thing which helps in achieving this thing. So presence, the big picture. So in this diagram, I'll try to explain like how Phoenix presence work. So I'll start from the bottom. If you will see over here, this is my browser, Abul's browser, and this is Edward's browser. So in my case, I can see Abul is login and Edward is not, assuming Edward is not logged in. So whenever, like I said, for every page, a live view page, there is a live view process, as I explained in the very start of the session, that every every live view page we create, there is a live view process for that. So there are different hooks in that. So there is one of the hook which is called as mount. As soon as the page is created is created in the mount callback, and that particular page is connected, that particular process is connected to WebSocket. At that time, we will try to call a function called as track in presence module. So when we call presence.track, it will, and we will pass some parameters, which we'll look into next slide. And we will tell to presence, hey, user one has, in our case, the user one is Abul, has logged in this live view process. Please make entry of that. So presence will take that thing and it will enter it in its list. And with Phoenix, with presence, it's not just take that list and note it down in the, it pass that thing to PubSub and ask it to publish. So here in our case, we have this users list topic, and what this PubSub does, it takes the data from presence and it publishes to this particular topic. So whatever live view processes which are subscribed to this this topic user list is going to receive that, hey, user one has logged in. So in our case, we have to this home live process is subscribed to users list. So it's going to receive that message that users one has joined. So this is fine for this process and this particular browser session. But what about the other users who are logged into the system? They are going to receive this message as well. So if there are n numbers of browsers that are connected, so all those browsers are going to receive this message that, hey, user one is available. Okay, so but the point is, like, once the message is broadcasted by user by PubSub, you have to handle that thing, that message that is coming from the PubSub. So we have to add a handle callback in our live view process, which I'll explain you in the code explanation. And accordingly, we are going to update the state of the application, and it's going to render that change. So that's the flow of the application. You have to on loading, as far as the process is mounted, you have to notify it to the presence is going to notify to PubSub, and finally PubSub is going to broadcast this message. So that's pretty much the flow of presence, how presence work. All right, so in this slide I have told you that presence track ask presence process about the user which has logged in. So how this track works: so when we navigate to the root page, we need to track that presence of that users. So we have to notify the presence process using this presence.track function. We have to notify and pass some data to the presence process. We have to first pass self, or the present module. We are talking about the present process, that, hey, in this process something has happened, so please take track of it. And the second thing is the topic is also, again, is also very necessary, because on which we want to publish this thing. So we have to notify the topic as well. So here in our case, it will be users:list. I have declared it as a global variable in the function, in the modules. So I have mentioned it as a topic. And in our case, I'm keeping track of the presence of the user with their ID. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm just using user.id. And finally is a map. We can pass metadata to this function, where we can pass other information as well. But here in our case, we don't need anything else. So I'm just passing it as an empty map. All right. So this is the explanation, like what all these parameters mean. Now, this is the final code explanation of presence, like how things works in our case. Like I said in this slide itself, like the very first thing that is happening as soon as the live view process is connected to WebSocket, we notify presence using the presence.track function. So you can see on this line. So I'm checking on over here if connected, if this process is connected. What we have to do, we have to notify presence using the track function, and this thing what we have seen earlier in this function. And the first the point which I missed out is we have to subscribe to a topic. Our process should subscribe to this topic as well. So so in our case, like when PubSub publishes that, hey, user one has logged in, you should get notified about that as well. So for that, we should be subscribed to that topic. So it's very simple, using this line Phoenix.pubsub .subscribe the function, for which you have to pass PubSub module as the first parameter, and the second parameter is the topics. And that's it. And and in this line socket, you are we are assigning the list of users. So yeah, over here in this application, in our application, as you can see, I'm rendering the list of users of the application. So that is achieved by I have fetched all the user of the application. And just for the demo purpose, I'm using this ugly fetching of all users, but accordingly you can optimize as per your requirement. So I'm taking that user and I'm assigning it to users variable. Similarly, logged in users. So in this yeah, over here you can see I have mentioned about presence.list. So similarly, you can ask presence that if at any point you want to know that hey presence, what are the users in our applications which are live right now. So you can ask presence to using this function presence.list. So over here I'm to a variable logged in user, I'm asking present.list of this topic, of this particular user lost colon list. I'm asking the list of users that are present in this particular topic. And for now, I'm just taking the IDs, list of user IDs, and I'm assigning to this variable logged in users. And after that, it's going, as soon as we assign data to socket, it get rendered in UI. But again, as soon as we pass this present.track or some logged in or logged out event is happened, like I said over here, that whenever Phoenix PubSub get diffs of that user has logged out or user has logged in, it notifies to all those subscriber. It broadcasts the data, and so how it is handled? It is handled using this handle info function, which has a signature of topic users colon list. So anything happened in this topic, handle info is going to catch that difference of data, and the event is presence diff, and the payload is diff. So this diff is a map which has list of users which have left the system and list of users which have joined the system. So as soon as I try to log in and I'm logged in into the system, handle info will be called, and it will have an array or list of users which have joined the system. So accordingly, you can use that list of user and assign it to login user to replicate to see in effect in your system. So this is how Phoenix presence work. So that's pretty much about all those concepts behind the system. Now I'll explain some code behind this all this implementation. The very first thing that what I want to show about the home live, when I try to authenticate the page and restrict the root page from accessing. So what I said that after running the command mix phoenix.gen.auth, it add this block of code automatically in your system. All right, so when I added this page root home live, I just moved this line from here to this line within this block. So it authenticated that particular page. So this is the reason behind authenticating the root page. All right, now comes the home live page where like I said, you must have seen at the top at the topic. So all had declared over here user list to make this subscribe thing possible, as well as the track thing possible. Again, in mount callback, you can see as soon as the socket is connected, this is the main condition you have to take care about. Once it is the socket is connected, you can publish the track, notify presence process about the change that is happening in the system. Similarly, using when you are subscribed and publishes the topic that, hey, user 1 has joined the system and user 2 had left the system. So all those things are handled in this info function. So this is, I guess this is something I had explained earlier. This logic, there was some private function that's a removed logged in user and add logged in user is kind of chain. I guess this syntax is quite similar to all Elm guys. So yeah, so once a user is login, we can concatenate to the list of existing users. Similarly, when user left the system, we can remove from the existing of logged in users. So this is happening behind the scene. And presence, when we wanted to install presence, like I said earlier, that Phoenix present doesn't come inbuilt with the system. You have to explicitly install that. So on running Phoenix gen.auth, it installed this it's installed presence, and it comes in this folder, channels folder, present.ex, and in this you can see it is installed as an OTP application, as it is kind of its own application. All right, and it uses Phoenix PubSub behind the scene. So I have explained you earlier that it uses Phoenix PubSub behind the scene. So how it is made aware that we should use, so this line is making that possible. It is, we are passing the system Phoenix PubSub, and also once you try to explain install Phoenix presence, you also have to make entry in the application. So you have to add this presence module into the list of supervisors, so that list of children, so that supervisors can take track of it, so to take advantage of Erlang's concurrency and crashing ability. So yeah, that's pretty much about this topic. Is anyone having any question?
Thank you very much. Thank you for a nice presentation. I think it was very well what you showed with both the code and like the diagrams of how things bounce back and forth. I had one question in the chat early on, which like asked like how would this work with the live presence, so to say, work with proxies and firewalls? But I guess that the request goes through the HTTP port, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter really, proxies, firewalls.
Yeah, as far as I know, it shouldn't matter, but maybe I'm not very good with networking stuff, but yeah, it's a good topic to be learn about.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's also kind of what I suspected, it or how it should work. Otherwise, it will be very problematic to get it to work.
Absolutely.
Another question: how come you come into Elixir? I mean, what languages have you done before Elixir?
That's a good question. Initially, I started my career as a front-end developer. I worked on technologies like Ember.js, a bit of React earlier. But when I was working in my second or third job, at that time I was introduced to backend. So I started my backend career as a Rails developer. At that time, I heard about Elixir at that time, and what I noticed that it has the concept of its syntax is quite similar to Ruby. So that caught my eye. And similarly, at that time, when one of my colleague introduced me, he used to force me functional programming concept on JavaScript. So at that time, I, out of curiosity, tried to learn about functional programming concepts. And at that time, Elixir also came into picture, and I tried to learn Elixir at the time. And professionally, like I wasn't working for any project, but I kept on playing with Elixir, and because of that, I got my break in one of the US-based company called a Select Hub, where I started my career as a Elixir developer, and I also do lots of blogging about that, whatever I learn about, and I do some freelancing of Elixir that as well. So yeah, that pretty much like my transition into Elixir.
Yeah, it sounds like most people or developers went into Elixir from Ruby or something, and then
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
went over to Elixir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are applauding in the chat, saying thank you very much for a very nice presentation. A question: the code you showed, will you show it? Will you share it or?
Yeah.
share
I
it?
haven't created GitHub repo of that, but I'll surely add it in the comment, and also I'll share the slide as well if
Yeah.
it's worthy enough.
Absolutely, do it. Share the slide, share the code, and we will publish them in the comments below, in the videos below, and people can check them out if they're interested. We'll also share your contact details if people want to get in contact with you.
Sure,
So again, thank
absolutely.
you very much for your very nice presentation. And the late
Thank you.
time, it must be in India, where you're from right now,
Yeah.
where you're sitting.
Yeah, it's 11:30 p.m.
Yes.
here in India.
Yes. So with that, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for watching tonight, or if it's early morning in the west coast of US. So thank you very much, everyone. And again, I would also like to point out, if you have a user group that you are running, and you want to say hello, that you are looking into Func Prog Sweden, just ping me, and we'll put you on in the start of another meetup. With that said, thank you everyone, and have a nice evening. Goodbye.